Okay, so in the first section in chapter 5, we are going to learn about writing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So before we do any examples, I wanted to refresh your memory about the form. So I copied part of the textbook, and we are going to highlight some key things here. So it says, recall that the graph of an equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, so that's very important, that's the form, is a line with a slope of m, so this is our slope, and a y-intercept of b. So our y-intercept is b. You can use this form to write an equation of a line if you know its slope and the y-intercept. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give you an equation, and we're going to graph it. So I'm going to change it back to pen, and my equation is going to be y equals negative 2x plus 2. Okay, so we're going to notice that our slope is the number in front of x, so our slope is going to be negative 2, and our y-intercept is going to be this number here, and it's positive 2. So that's our y-intercept. When you guys start graphing, you want to remember that the first thing we're going to use is going to be the y-intercept, because that's going to fix our line. It's going to tell us where it passes through. And then we're going to use the slope to decide how steep the line has to be. So first, my y-intercept is 2. So I'm going to go here, and remember it's called y-intercept because it crosses the y-axis. And it's a negative slope. So before you actually graph, you want to remember that negative slope looks like this. So you should anticipate your line going like this. So if it doesn't, then that means you drew the incorrect line. Okay, so slope is negative 2. So remember it is rise over run. So it means that in fraction form, it's negative 2 over 1. So our rise is negative 2, meaning we're going to go down. And our run is 1, which means we're going to go right 1. So we go 2 down. So 1, 2, and 1 to the right. So this is another point. Technically, this is all you need. However, I'm just gonna do my give me give you a couple more points. So down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, and looks like a straight line, which is great. And I'm gonna use my where is it? Um, I'm going to use my awesome pen here that's going to recognize that it's a line. So, I'm going to do my best. Ta-da! Except for it doesn't actually go through this point. I'm just going to fix it. So it looks like something like this. And I did forget one thing. I need to show the arrows because remember the line goes on forever. We just graph a part of it, but we need to remember that it actually keeps going. So these two little arrows are going to help us with that. Okay, so now we're ready to jump to start with some examples. So for each section, I'm going to list the skills that we're going to learn, so then you can keep track of things that you know and things you don't know for the test or quiz. So the first skill we have is write an equation of the line given a slope and a y-intercept. So quick reminder from the previous slide, slope was the m and the y-intercept was b. So it says write an equation of the line. Now it doesn't actually specify what the form is. We're going to assume it's slope-intercept form because we're in a section. However, on the quiz or test, if I don't tell you what form to use, then you can use any form that you like. So we're going to use slope-intercept form, and it is y equals mx plus b. And it's the easiest form to use because you're actually given the slope and you're given the y-intercept. So what I'm going to do is literally take my numbers and substitute these values into your equation. So the slope of negative 2 means that my m here is going to be negative 2. And my y-intercept of 5 means that my b is going to be 5. So then all you have to do here is just rewrite your equation and then you're done. So my equation is y equals negative 2 negative 2x plus 5. And that's it, that's your answer. Okay, so what you should do now is you should pause the video and I want you to actually try an example on your own, and at the end of the video ask you to go on and use the Google form that's on the page right underneath the video to actually enter your answers, so then we can see whether you guys know what to do or you don't know what to do. So hopefully you guys get it right. So this is your example. So pause here and try this one. All right. So now we're going to move on to skill number 2, which is writing an equation of the line given a graph. So this is a difference with a clear slope and a y-intercept. And when I say a clear slope, it means that you can clearly see the 2 points that are on your graph that we can use to get the slope, and you could clearly see the y-intercept. Okay, so this is actually a multiple choice question. So we're going to use method of elimination just like we did on our pretest when we went over it. Okay, so first thing I want you guys to do is I want you to look at this graph and think about the kind of slope that we have here. So take a second and think about whether the slope should be positive, negative, 0, or undefined. Okay, so hopefully you decided that it is negative, which means that we are looking for a negative number in front of x. Doesn't help us too much because we can only eliminate d, but it's still helpful. D has a positive coefficient in front of x, so it's positive 3, which doesn't go with our picture, so we have to eliminate it. So then I'm going to concentrate on the y-intercept. So according to our picture, the y-intercept is 3, so we are looking for plus 3 at the end. Looks like this one got it, looks like this one got it. This equation doesn't have that because it's adding a 1, so this is definitely incorrect, so we can eliminate this one. So our only 2 choices are going to be A and B. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the difference between the 2 equations. And after close inspection, I see that my slope is different. So one is 2 over 5 and one is 5 over 2. So I'm going to think back to the slope. There's different ways of thinking about the slope. You can think about it as rise over run. You can think of it as in change in y over change in x. And remember, don't get confused with the symbol. This is a Greek letter delta, which means change. So change in y over change in x. Or we also see this as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so there's different ways because depending on the situation, you want to use different format. So on the graph, we want to use the rise over run because we can simply look at the graph and decide which way it goes. So rise is this, so we went down 2 here, and our run is 5. So it should be negative 2, because that's the rise, and I'm actually going to change my colors so it's easier to see. Okay, so I'm going to use a different color here. So my rise is negative 2, and my run is positive 5. So I'm looking for negative 2 over 5, which is this choice right here. Okay? So now I want you guys to try on your own, and you're given a picture. Hopefully it's clear enough, and you have to come up with your own equation for this line. So it's not a multiple choice, so you do have to come up with your own answer, but hopefully you can handle it. So pause the video and work it out. All right, and we're back. We're halfway there. We've got 2 more skills. Our skill number 3 is writing an equation of the line given 2 points with one of them being a y-intercept. And you'll see later on why it's important, but for this section, for the first one, we want to use the y-intercept. So the first thing I want to do is show you where the y-intercept shows up in the graph. Okay, we discussed this in class, but I just want to remind you, when you are looking for the y-intercept, or you simply want to recognize it's the y-intercept, you're crossing the y-axis, which means that the x-coordinate has to be 0. So you're looking for a point that has 0 as the x-coordinate, and this number here is going to be always the y-intercept. So when you're looking at points, you're looking for 0 in the x spot. Okay. So this makes it a little easier here because you have the coordinates as well as the graph. So this is my 0 here. So this is the y-intercept. So what I would do is I would write down that b is equal to -5 here. Okay, so thinking back to our form, it is y equals mx plus b. And you need to know two things. You need to know the slope, and you need to know the y-intercept, right? So we just said that our y-intercept is -5, and we got it from the graph, so we're good here. And the only thing we do have to find is the slope. So I'm given a graph, so I'm going to do rise over run. And if you don't have the graph, then you would use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so my rise is going to be, I'm going to go from left to right. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 4. So my rise is 4 here. And my run, I go to the right, so it's also positive. So it's 1, 2, 3, just 3 actually. So 4 over 3. I can't simplify it, so you don't have to do much, and that's it, you're done. So your equation is going to be, or your answer, y equals 4 over 3x minus 5, and you're done. Just double check you have a positive slope, your graph looks like it has a positive slope, so this looks good, and then you're good to go. I just want to remind you, if you have a few minutes on a quiz or a test where you actually have time to check your answer, remember you can always take a point, like this one, and substitute the x and the y to see if it actually works out. So this could be your potential check, and if it works out, then you could be pretty confident with your answer. Alright, so I'm going to have you do one on your own. So I'm giving you 2 points. You have to come up with your own equation in slope-intercept form. And don't forget that the first thing I'd want you to do is look for the y-intercept and see if it's actually listed in one of the points. Alright, so pause it and work it out. Alright, so this is not the last skill in the section, but this is the last skill we're going to learn in the video. So it is writing an equation of the line given 2 points in function notation, with one of them being a y-intercept. So I know it's a handful, so we're going to concentrate on one thing at a time. We are going to first worry about points in function notation. So we worked on this in class, but I just want to remind you. When you're given this notation, what we want to do is we want to think about what is the point that is on the graph. Remember, it's f of x equal to y. So 0 is the x, and 5 is the y. And this is f of 4 is equal to 17, which tells you that if you plug in 4, you get 17 as your answer. So 4 is our x, and 17 is our y. Okay, so before we start doing anything crazy, I want you to realize that you actually have a y-intercept because you have a 0 in the x-coordinate spot. So this is your b. You don't have to do any work to find it. So I'm going to label it right here. So b is equal to 5. So the only thing we have to do is we have to find the slope. So in this problem, we can't do rise over run because we don't have a graph. So we do want to use the coordinates. So remember, it was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And volunteers in our class did a great job with labeling. So I'm going to use their strategy. So I'm going to label x1, y1, and x2, y2. And we're going to set up. So we get 5 minus 17 over 0 minus 4. So 5 minus 17 gives me negative 12. And negative 4, or 0 minus 4 gives me negative 4. We're not going to leave our answer like that because negative 12 divided by negative 4 is actually positive 3. And then we're done. So this is our slope. So we have an m, our slope, and we have the y-intercept. So then all you have to do, and I apologize for the little clutter here, but We just have to put it together and we have our answer. So y is equal to 3x plus 5, and that's it. And if you have a few minutes to check, remember you can substitute, I don't want to say plug, we want to substitute 4 in for x and 17 in for y. So this could be your check. So you could see, is 17 going to be equal to 3 times 4 plus 5? And it does, because 17 is equal to 12 plus 5, so you can feel confident and be 100% sure with your answer. Okay, so of course I'm going to have you try one on your own. If you get confused, go back and rewatch the example, but hopefully you're good to go. So work this example. I'm going to make this a little bigger for you. Work it out, and remember to show your work and write down your answer, because after you finish the video, you are going to type in your answers for me. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and hopefully this helped you out.